Leslye Headland's Star Wars The Acolyte series has debuted its first 2 episodes, and viewers are absolutely torching this show. It is getting destroyed on all fronts. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And you can see here on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 45% all audience score with an average rating of 2.7 out of 5. Absolutely abysmal, atrocious score there. Very, very rotten. Here's what some of the reviewers are saying. As a reader of the High Republic, this was disappointing. I'm sorry to say that Vernestra Rowe is misunderstood. The costume, makeup, hair, and set designs were atrocious. Where did the $180 million in budget go? The music is just terrible and tries to copy the prequels to improve. Props to them for creating new planets. However, are they fresh, new, and inventive? No, not like Andor or The Mandalorian. The action and choreography was okay. There was no emotion behind any of it. So that is a negative review from someone who seems to actually enjoy Disney's Star Wars as High Republic. So even people who like Disney Star Wars are trashing this show. You can't make it up. It's great. Another said this story doesn't fit the timeline. 100 years before the Empire should have given us a story focused on the Moon Sith Lord Plagueis. I gave it a shot hoping it would be good. Anyway, because it's Star Wars, the Yord character was painful to watch and appears dense and not bright considering his rank in the Order. I agree. I couldn't stand it. He was so stiff. He was annoying. It was a mockery of the Jedi. They were trying to use him as an example of like, look how the Jedi are so stiff and all they do is adhere to the rules and stuff like that. And it's like, we saw the Phantom Menace. We know that the Jedi were not like that. Please stop. The young Jackie seemed to outsmart him at times. The second Jedi Master's death was odd and didn't make much sense. No, it made absolutely no sense at all. She's just like, you did me wrong. Drink this poison. And then he does, and he self-deletes. Absolutely stupid and dumb. First Jedi Master that died had a great fighting scene, and the deception in the fight was something a dark side user would do. I don't understand the forced vision communication between the two sisters in the first episode and then the second one. May didn't know her sister was alive. Who was she talking to then? I'm probably not going to finish this show. You can see their comments right there. We got another person here says, I don't even know what they are trying to accomplish with this show. It's dry and boring. Loved Andor, liked Ahsoka, but this just no. Again, these are people, some of these people actually like Disney Star Wars stuff, like Andor, like Ahsoka. I thought Ahsoka was absolute garbage. I don't think they've really made any kind of good Star Wars television show. Even I'm in the minority here. I don't even like the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. I thought those were subpar, should have been a lot better. They also didn't give us what they promised they were going to give us at all. It turned into a babysitting show. It was nothing about actually a bounty hunter in the vein of Boba Fett or Jango Fett going around in the Outer Rim and being a bounty hunter. We didn't really get that at all, except for the first scene in the first episode. But these are people that liked Ahsoka. This guy, Yuri, says he liked Ahsoka or she liked Ahsoka, but hates this stuff. Even the people that they're trying to appeal to, the Disney Star Wars people, don't even like this. Martin Z says Star Wars The Acolyte falls short of expectations with its uneven pacing and superficial character development. Despite attempts to blend a murder mystery with classic Star Wars elements, the emotion feels disjointed and lacks the darker tone required. Manla Stenberg's performance is inconsistent in the fight scenes, though numerous often feel out of place. While the practical effects and stunts are commendable, they can't compensate for the show's overall lackluster storytelling and forced world building. There is no murder mystery. They figure out who has done the murders in the first episode. The only thing that is kind of a mystery is what is the actual motivations. Like that's the show now, is like, why are these people even doing this, and can they be redeemed, I guess. And then who is the Sith, right? That's the other question. Who is the Sith? But everything else, there is no mystery to it aside from those 2 things. Like, it's not about who done it. It's not trying to figure out who's killing these people. It's nothing like that. They've already figured it out. It's already been discovered. There is no mystery. in that sense. We got this person here, JH says, I just can't stomach modern sci-fi anymore. Massive budget, mediocre actors, and utterly abysmal writers. I'm just checking out at this point. And awful direction. I really think when you see actors just absolutely sucking, it usually has a lot more to do with the direction. And Leslye Headland directed both of these episodes. I will say that the Lee Jung Jae, who plays Master Soul, he actually did a decent job. So there might be obviously some criticism towards the rest of the acting. You look at Leslye Headland's Vernestra Rowe, nepotism, as we like to say on the WDW Pro Show. She's awful. She should never have been cast in the show. Terrible. I hope they didn't pay her anything and she did it pro bono. Because if she got paid any kind of significant amount of money for this, they got fleeced. Which the whole show is Leslye Headland fleecing them, right? Cameron O says, this is simply terrible. The writing and acting is woeful. I must say, however, it looks amazing and is a huge improvement on Kenobi. It's also very slow and rather boring and doesn't really feel like it relates to something I would consider a Star Wars universe. I do hope the next few episodes are better, but I'm doubtful this will occur with what I've already watched. So people not optimistic about the future of the show, but people already tuning it out. On Metacritic, it's even worse. 3.2 user score out of 10, 39 positive reviews, 7 mixed reviews, and 92 negative reviews. Chipotle, a lot of them are zeros, the negative reviews. Chipotle, which we're going to read some of them here. Chipotle 333 says, no one wants this. Disney killed Star Wars, and now they are desecrating its corpse. Extremely poor writing, poor choreography, pointless story so far. There's no reason to care about the series at all. Accurate. Brainless also gives it a 0. He wrote, again, an absolute disgrace for the Star Wars franchise. Bad dialogues, bad characters, bad writing. Any AI could generate a better story in seconds. We're going to see that criticism a lot. ChatGPT, AI, better than Leslye Headland's lesbian fan fiction. This other person says, would someone please buy Disney and fire Kathleen Kennedy plus all the gender-confused staff? This is a joke. Indeed. That's great advice. That's what needs to happen. Disney needs to sell. Last Ridge also gives it a 0. Poor acting, horrible script, bad characters, appalling direction, topped with an incessant need to force, F-O-R-C-E, things that nobody wants. You couldn't cobble together a worse bunch of showrunners if you tried. Grumpy Sarcasm gave it a 2 out of 10. The writing is unfathomably bland. ChatGPT could write more creatively than this. Directing similarly awful. Bubba 5 gave it a 0. He had a lot to say. Where is the quality control in Star Wars? Who thought, let's have a fight scene with someone sleeping? Yeah, that's exactly what happens in the second episode. There is a Jedi Master who's allegedly been in some kind of meditative state for 10 years. He is kind of in the pretzel sitting position. And yeah, he's just meditating in the air, and he's been doing that for 10 years. And then May, the bad twin, shows up and starts attacking him. And he has like a force field shield around him, and she can't attack him until she goes back, gets a poison, and then tells him, hey, you're a bad person. Kill yourself. And that's what he does. It's terrible. It's so absolutely terrible. But Bubba 5 goes on and says, that's exciting. No, maybe if I come back in a couple hours, I can talk to you for 10 seconds and have you commit suicide. That's exciting. I know I would be chugging the poison down if I knew I was going to be in this show. I know. Let's have a tiny butter knife kill a Jedi when multiple people have survived lightsaber stabbings. Let's have an investigation where you ask the suspect where they were last night, and they say on a spaceship with hundreds of witnesses billions of kilometers from the murder scene. And the immediate response is case closed, cuff them, boys. Yeah, it's so dumb. Like, the writing is absolutely atrocious. Let's have a prison cell with steel bars for some reason that prisoners can easily use tentacles to escape from, and not the laser walls that another prison has in the next scene. The timeline makes no sense. Osha, the good twin, is still puttering around the ship when the Jedi show up to arrest her. She would be a frozen corpse by the time they arrive. Not to mention terrible lines like, no one could survive this. And then 1 nanosecond later, oh, there's Osha. Not even a hair out of place. Perfect as can be. But I have to say that Jedi Soul is the only redeeming part of the show and has charisma, distracts a ton of flaws. But when the show is a train wreck like this, there is no hope. Feels like a creepy P wrote a kid's show and called it The Acolyte. Story, Visuals, meh. Acting, meh. Dialogue, painful. Entertaining, no action, horrendous. I'm not even mentioning all the crap components because the show is not bad. This is not a good show that has crap, which make it bad. It is a horrendous show at the core with propaganda sprinkled on top. Who cares? So, accurate review right there. Like, that is a fantastic review from Bubba 5, just torching the show. We got this person here. This is not Star Wars. Poor millennial writing with no soul or artistic value. Just insufferable identity politics. Characters cosplaying as Jedi and destroying once beloved franchise. Accurate. Star Wars is dead. This other mess of a show is just one more nail in the coffin. Another example of Disney destroying their IP by making it all about identity politics and DEI ESG. Yeah, the only white characters is like an insane victim or an insane criminal who's being he's basically the Jedi are sedating him with like some parasite that like messes with your mind. And then the other one is the guy who kills himself. The Jedi kills himself because this woman tells him to. It's so stupid. They have no respect for past characters in the lore. This is the epitome of everything wrong with the industry. Disney deserves their self-inflicted destruction. Agree. We go over to X. We got Joel Berry here. I think he's with Babylon B. He says the Acolyte is a queer Marxist vandalization of the myth of Star Wars. And the Acolyte, the Force, is a metaphor for cultural hegemonic power. The Jedi are a metaphor for cisgender white oppressors who hoard the power for themselves. Yes, it really is that obnoxious and stupid. Matthew Kadish wrote this. It's confirmed Leslye Headland is a terrible writer and director. We got some more here too. He posted this after kind of stewing on it, I guess. And he says, I'm convinced now more than ever that The Acolyte is a total garbage show. It's poorly written, poorly directed, poorly shot, and in many ways very unoriginal and boring. If it had been a murder mystery set in the Star Wars universe, that would have been one thing, a unique concept idea where we get to see Jedi investigate a crime that unfolds into a greater conspiracy, and we get to see them experience the world of this time frame in a new and unique way. Instead, all mystery and tension is dismissed, and we only get crouching Jedi, hidden Sith fight scenes. This is such a step back from Andor, which managed to make the Star Wars universe feel gritty and real for the first time since the original trilogy. I don't even care about all the wokeness embedded into the show. The fact that it fails so epically on such a basic level of storytelling and tradecraft, directing, cinematography, visual effects, etc., it is so inexcusable. It blows my mind. I mean, I've been saying this since The Mandalorian season 1. Obi-Wan Kenobi was absolutely atrocious in this regard as well. And it's good to see people are finally seeing all this stuff. I guess it took the Acolyte to see it. But it's what Tolkien says, though. Once you see something, once something has failed to immerse you in it, once you see it as like the abortive second world that it is, and you're no longer actually immersed in it and you're outside of it, you see all this stuff. And I think people that happens to them at different points in time when it comes to Star Wars. Clearly, it happened to me a lot earlier than others. But now I guess a lot of people were still trying to kind of send to it. They were still trying to suspend their disbelief. So they were allowing themselves to kind of not see the absolute atrociousness of Disney Star Wars. Because like I said, I mean, this stuff is absolutely atrocious, but we've seen this in Ahsoka. We saw this in Obi-Wan Kenobi. We've seen this in The Mandalorian. It's in all of their Disney Plus shows. The Book of Boba Fett. I mean, it's even in their films. It's in The Rise of Skywalker. It's in The Last Jedi. We've seen all this stuff. But it's good to see more people are indeed seeing it and roasting this. He goes on and says, also, Leslye Headland has no clue how to end an episode and make a proper cliffhanger. That's absolutely true. The first episode ends with May showing up on some planet and like talking to a Sith. And then there's like some kind of like it sounds like they're trying to do some kind of poetry. Doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. And then in the second episode, it's just like a Wookiee using the Force to blast people away from his property because they were gonna like loot it or whatever. It doesn't like tease anything about what's going to happen in the second episode or leave you with any questions whatsoever. Kadish concludes saying, this show is trash and the people responsible for making it are hacks and everyone involved should be ashamed to be associated with it. Agree. Endymion, he says, I watched the first 2 episodes of Star Wars: The Acolyte, and I'm not kidding you. It is somehow worse than the Book of Boba Fett. The story is lame, the character's forgettable, and features plenty of diversity and strong women. The makeup is also horrible. There are also fat Jedi, and the show doesn't know how to do cliffhangers. Yeah, that's right. They have fat Jedi now. You know, this order of people, the Jedi Order, that are all about discipline, self-sacrifice, etc. Yeah, they got a fat guy now who's clearly just been munching on the donuts while spending time on on this like on this planet. Like it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Got to have that DEI representation though. The second episode ends with a Wookiee Jedi walking into their house. I'm not kidding you. Disney has somehow made an even worse show than they have in the past. I have no idea who this is for, but this is really bad. WTF. Lorena Creole says the Acolyte is yet another stellar example of using diversity as a shield against lackluster writing and production quality. Disney should be ashamed of themselves. Obviously, she's referring to both Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland coming out and saying the men who like Star Wars are terrible and they always are giving women a hard time. They're bad people. And then Leslye Headland saying if you oppose this kind of DI garbage, yeah, you're not a Star Wars fan in her mind. Obviously, trying to shield this trash show from the criticism it's getting anyways, because no one cares about that crap anymore. Like everyone is roasting this. Even their own Disney Star Wars people, as I mentioned on Rotten Tomatoes, are just trashing this. People that like Ahsoka, people that like the High Republic are trashing the show. Robert Meyer Burnett, The Acolyte is a massive misunderstanding of what the original Star Wars was all about. That's Disney Star Wars to a T. Disney Star Wars doesn't understand Star Wars. They don't understand it. You've got a guy, Dave Filoni, who's literally sat next to George Lucas as he's explaining it to him in a writer's room, and he's not even listening to him. He's ignoring him. He just sits there and he's drawing in his book or whatever. He's not even paying attention. And this is the guy they made chief creative. These people don't know. They literally don't know. They don't understand it at all. Or if they do, they're intentionally trying to destroy it, which there's probably a little bit of both. There's probably a little bit of both involved there. Robert Meyer Burnett goes on and says, I wonder, does the younger generation actually even understand what storytelling itself is supposed to be about? Yes, it's all storytelling is inscribed in our souls, in our hearts. We definitely understand it. And that's why people are rejecting this trash. Lucas Star Wars Girl says this, if you like The Rise of Skywalker, you'll love The Acolyte. Yes, it's that bad. Despite being set over 100 years earlier, it somehow chooses to reference that movie over any other. This is a worse troll job than The Last Jedi. Headland thinks all she needs to do to make it feel like Star Wars is use transition wipes after every scene. The editing is awful. There's no flow. The jokes don't land. And it's littered with redundant plot points which go nowhere. Amateur hour, verdict, hot garbage. And then I think this is probably my favorite. Gary Beekler, Nerdrotic, says, those were the good episodes. Holy crap, Acolyte. And indeed, if Chris Gore is to be believed, it's going to get a whole lot worse and very quickly. He said this during a Geeks and Gamers live stream. These first two episodes are pretty basic. They get you into the story and the world. Episode 3, I'm warning you now, it is going to completely lose everyone. So he's literally saying the first two episodes are basic, and that's how trash they are, though. I mean, people are roasting this, and he's even calling them basic. And then he says that the third episode is going to completely lose everyone. Just look at how many people they've already lost just in these first two. He says they completely redefine what the Force is. You're going to see two mothers conceive twins, a bunch of witches that are basically the Jedi turned into cops, and Child Protective Services is like the CPS of the galaxy. We already saw that, and they're clearly ineffective at their jobs. They've got their spaceship helicopter, and apparently kicking up a bunch of dust stops you from detecting this person in the dust. Like, it's not like that once you see the person leave the dust and you can see where they're going. You're above. You have a bird's eye view. Come on. How stupid are these people? They are incredibly dumb. But he goes on and says this, episode 1 and 2, whatever, it's fine. Episode 3 and 4, get ready for pronouns in Star Wars. It's happening. But episode 3, I'm literally considering having a funeral for Star Wars. Literally get everyone to dress up, wear dark glasses, give eulogies, play organ church music in the background. Because after episode 3 of The Acolyte, it will cause a lot of discussion. Aside from the fact that the show is cheap looking, for all the money they spend, it looks cheap. The exterior scenes in Forest look shot on the soundstage. It looks very, very obvious. And then he says it lacks male energy. And then he later added this, it'll change things forever. And I don't think anyone's going to like it. And we'll get a lot of lesbians in space, lesbian witches that conceive children. So get ready for episode 3. And then he says Leslye Headland's effectively taken the corpse and skin of Star Wars like Buffalo Bill and just like put it on to tell her story. It's grotesque. It's filled with narcissism. So people are torching this show, and rightfully so. And I can't wait. I can't wait for the third episode, because we're going to see that torching being ramped up to an even greater level, because it's going to get even worse. And they deserve it. They deserve it. They chose to hire Leslye Headland. They chose to push this stuff. They deserve the roasting. They deserve people not watching it. They deserve losing lots and lots and lots of money. But let me know what you guys make of this. Share your favorite roast that you've seen in the comments below. Let me know if you've seen it. I hope you didn't. I hope people aren't watching it. We're just listening to people roast this, because this is the best part, right? Is listening to the roasting. But let me know. Leave a comment below. But remember to always be charitable, especially to each other. I think we can roast the show, though. I don't think there's any problems with roasting the show. Just remember, be charitable to each other, but always speak the truth.